Like you mentioned, HubSpot, you already internally have some AI feature or product to enable sales. Could you give us a few like successful use case?
Yeah, so I would say first when we started the idea of, we have HubSpot, we also needed to use other tools and other technologies and custom stuff to make AI work, right? So the biggest problem is organizational alignment, right? Because if you think about AI, it's not just a sales use case or a marketing, it's around the customer, for example. So what we did is we organized a pod model where we basically said, hey, engineering, marketing, sales, etc. We put together these pods that are actually assigned to a single metric or a single goal. And that was cross-functional, and those pods, they operated independently from the org that they're in. The second is anyone who tells you getting AI to work in a B2B SaaS enterprise-wide is they have this is the right way to do it for sure is wrong, because everyone's experimenting and learning, right? So you have to have like this idea of an experiment and not an idea of, I know this is the right way to do this, right? And then third one was a lot around enablement. Like, even though we were a software company, it's surprising a lot of people in operations and other weren't really trained in AI because how to use these things. So those are three things we had addressed. And so I'll give you a classic example. One of the things you're trying to do in AI go-to-market is reduce costs and accelerate delivery of sales or other things. So on our sales side, what we did was, at first we tried to say, could we replace the BDR with an AI, right? We quickly realized you can, right? At least we couldn't right now, right? For many reasons. But that was a really a difficult learning experience. But then we came up with, well, what are we trying to do, a BDR trying to do, business development rep? They're really trying to book meetings for the AEs, right? So we created a pod, and they have one metric, and that metric is number of meetings booked via AI. And that's it, that's all we measure. And so you have an entire team, an engineer, a UI person, actually person in sales, a BDR, and they're just literally mimicking that and doing experiments left and right. We evaluate how many meetings they made, and then did those meetings actually result in something? And that's kind of like an experiment. That's an example of that. Now, we've done that across the board and the go-to-market. The most successful by far has been customer support. I think that's just because it's just a much more mature area. That's like an agent doing customer support work that really, in that metric, is simple, it's deflection.
So is there any like exciting like AI feature or project or like either HubSpot internal use or we guys release to customer, like we can expect for 2025?
The simple one is more features with Copilot type things, right? We'll think of the chat spot going around with you asking questions while I guide you through that, right? So you can see that in a very common. We don't think that's going away. We still think in a world where people are still playing with the software. So that's one component, right? The second one is that we have 4 agents, like a customer agent as an example. We have 4 that we've released in beta. So we'll launch more agents that are very specific around the customer. So we have a social media agent, prospecting agent, those type of things. So you'll see more Copilot features. You'll see more sophisticated agents. And then the third one, I think we've discussed this. I won't give timelines, but the ability to build your own agents. So that's kind of the short-term view. The long-term view, I think the software as we know it go away, and our interface, our agents, and the software become a back-end process, right? So if you guys, there's Dharmesh has, a project that he's working on, that does those type of the agent.ai, right? We can go there, which is just tasks and agents. It kind of shows a world 5 years out, maybe, where we don't have software, we just have agents and data. So that's like an experiment that he's working on, which basically, if you go to, his agent.ai, you can see that it's like an agent that just does customer research. That's all it does, or the task. And then can you build like super agents? And then now you don't actually have software. We just have agents. We're looking at the world in multiple ways. So I don't think anyone knows, does that way happen? And software becomes a back-end commoditized thing. You have to place some bets there, right? So that's kind of the approach we're taking.